Okay, so today I want to talk about Caleb Williams winning Elite 11 MVP, how he did that, what that means for others like Drake Maye, JJ McCarthy, and Kyle McCord, who all showed out, and all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, Caleb Williams was announced as the Elite 11 MVP for 2021. This comes just 3 days before he is supposed to announce his commitment to either Oklahoma, LSU, or Maryland. He's still considering all three, and we will all find out together on July 4th. But I talked with few sources at Elite 11, and there were a couple of notes that I wanted to pass along, one of which was from a receiver who was catching balls, and he said, look, JJ McCarthy and Drake Maye throw two of the most beautiful balls that he has ever seen. And I'm with that because Drake Maye was committed to play at Alabama, got flipped by Mack Brown. Mack Brown continues to show us all how he really does know how to recruit. And then JJ McCarthy, for many that I've spoken with, is wildly underrated in this quarterback class, along with a couple of other, quite honestly, awesome players like Garrett Nussmeier, like Demetrius Davis. We continue to go down the list here. But the guys that got invited to Elite 11 showed out and showed why at different intervals throughout the last 3 days, why they are so good. I mean, Brock Vandagriff ran through some drills on Wednesday in such a way that he's like a full minute and a half ahead of Caleb Williams in the finish. And then talk about Kyle McCord, who apparently showed out on Tuesday, just destroying the pro day circuit, which is what you're going to have to do in 3-4 years from now if you are the quarterback at Ohio State and you want to get drafted in the first round. He's going to have some stiff competition ahead of him in CJ Stroud, who was Elite 11 MVP last year. But for Caleb Williams, his winning Elite 11 MVP was really just him solidifying a number one spot as the number one quarterback in this 2021 class and a top 10 recruit, the only quarterback inside the top 10 in this class that is loaded with skill players, particularly at corner, wide receiver, and weak side defensive end, where I would also add here, Oklahoma has 2 of the top 10 weak side defensive ends in the country committed to the class. But with Williams, Trent Dilfer actually went ahead and said, hey, look, when we do these evaluations, 75% of our evaluation comes on your junior year tape and your traits. If you have the ability to project to what the NFL is doing today, then we're probably going to take that into heavier account. So if you come out looking like Drew Bledsoe in 2020, it's probably not going to be the kind of quarterback that gets drafted in the first round in today's NFL because you have to be able to do so much more with your feet. You don't have to be elite with your feet, but you have to be better than a statue with your feet. There's a difference between being drafted as the first quarterback taken off the board, like a Kyler Murray in 2018, or a Tua Tagovailoa in 2020, than there is for a Jake Luton, who came out of Oregon State earlier this year as like a 6th-round draft pick. I want to say to like Jacksonville. But with Williams, 25% of what they did in the last 3 days also went into the evaluation. So it doesn't count for nothing, but it is more you showing Trent Dilfer and the Elite 11 evaluators that you have the goods that they saw on tape, that your attitude is such that you know how to win, you know how to compete, and you know the correct way to approach coaches and teammates, of which they are all taking that into account because you're putting a bunch of alphas in a room together and asking them to duke it out in a casual and or competitive manner, depending on where you are. You're asking them to evaluate each other. Also reminds me of my favorite Elite 11 story, which is Josh Rosen showing up to correct the playbook that Trent Dilfer put in front of him. And you know what? Rosen was right. Now, for Oklahoma fans in particular, this would be a really big weekend if Caleb Williams committed to Oklahoma, as the crystal ball suggests, because he would be the second Elite 11 MVP to choose Oklahoma in the last 3 years. The other being Spencer Rattler, who we all expect to be the starting quarterback at Oklahoma in this 2020 season. Now, add to that what this has meant for college football at large, right? Because Mike Locksley really wanted a Caleb Williams, but he was able to cover by getting Tua Tagovailoa to commit to transfer to Maryland in May. He's also got Lance Lejeune, who comes out of that 2019 class, in there, and they expect to be throwing passes to Raheem Jarrett and have Maryland trending in the best direction. And Maryland is pretty good at putting out wide receivers, so they ought to be okay. And if they just recruit that area, that mid-Atlantic region, that DMV, they should be good. Losing a Caleb Williams isn't going to help them, but it ain't going to hurt them that they were in his final three. It's going to mean a lot for them going forward when they recruit 2022, 2023, 2024. LSU, though, they don't lose anything. They have Garrett Nussmeier already coming out of Flower Mound Marcus. He's had outstanding seasons. He's played with J. Michael Sturdivant, who's also going to make his commitment on July 4th. He's considering, among others, Oklahoma, Cal. And now we're going to find out just how much of Caleb Williams is going to impact this class, right? Because Keon Coleman is supposed to make his commitment on July 4th as well. He's an OU lean to some. We'll see how that goes. We could see some other fireworks on July 4th along with those two. Oklahoma would really love to get a Kamara Wheaton into the boat. I don't know that it's going to happen on July 4th, but it's possible that it could happen in July. He's slowed down his recruiting since nobody has been able to take visits, and we've seen more kiddos elect to commit to the place where they have the best offer, even having not visited that place. I find that to be one of the most remarkable aspects of this 2021 class is you're seeing kids that are looking at the college football season, even looking at their high school seasons, and seeing now more than ever that those things could be put on ice until the winter in February and go, you know what? I really want to play college football. I really want to get to the NFL. Let me focus on that. So like a Travion Henderson who chose to commit to Ohio State back in March might not get to play high school football as a senior because in Virginia, they're thinking about pushing back the season until February. He is expected to early enroll. This is one of the reasons why this recruiting class also could be wildly misevaluated. And we're all going to be trying to figure out what it's supposed to look like 3 years from now. And we're going to tell stories about this year because this is usually when everybody's at camp and the evaluations get sharpened up. And we're pretty good about projecting what the guys are going to be, not just in college, but at the NFL level. And remember, that's what the Elite 11 is supposed to be for, as much as the rankings. It's not to project what you're going to be in college. It is to project what you're going to be in the NFL in 3 years' time, right? You could still be in college expected to take a fourth year, or as a 5-star, or one of the 30 each year in the composite. You're expected to be in college for 3 years and then declare for the NFL draft and get drafted. You're supposed to be Jerry Jeudy. You're supposed to be Tua Tagovailoa. You are not supposed to be Caleb Kelly. You're not supposed to be Robert Barnes. You're supposed to be one of these high blue chip value kiddos that comes through, sets the world on fire, and leaves. And that's what Caleb Williams is now projected to be. Now, he's going to be a true freshman, which means he's going to redshirt at Oklahoma 2021 if that's where he chooses. If he chose LSU, the same would be true. If he chose Maryland, that's the place where I think he might actually have an opportunity to play right away, depending on how much farther along he is than a Talia Tagovailoa and or Lance Lejeune, who would have both been in the system for another year. And Lejeune was one of these kiddos that got the Netflix treatment in QB1 Beyond the Lights with, of course, Spencer Rattler and that 2019 class that was so vaunted. Now, as for how this plays out going down the line, we'll have to wait and see because Oklahoma's been pretty good about recruiting defensively in the first half of the year and then closing out with the guys they really want offensively during the football season and toward August. I know that Williams getting in later than you would like a quarterback to get in affects this class, but there are guys in there that can help get them to a top 10 ranking, fourth time in 4 years, yet they need some star power to follow Caleb Williams if that's going to be the case. It's not just good enough to get the high 3-star and the low 4-star. You got to get the high 4-star like Clayton Smith. You got to get the odd 5-star. You got to have at least 2 in this class, I think, to ensure that Oklahoma has a real opportunity to get to that top 10 ranking. And getting a Caleb Williams is getting halfway there. We'll see if it happens on Saturday. All right, that is it for me. Deuces.